Hey guys, it's Joey. Happy to see you again. We're here because there's been a bunch of little updates from the world of David Lynch, which has brought me back to YouTube to talk about David Lynch, and I haven't done that for a while. And I want to do that. I've been excited to do that. I've been waiting to do it again, um, and that's because Sabrina Sutherland, longtime partner with David Lynch. They've been working together a very long time. Went on to tulpaform.com, did a little Q&A where we got some interesting information about what Lynch is doing and the companies and the projects that he had going on. A little information that maybe we didn't really know before that. So I'm going to go into some of the information she shared. We'll go through the Q&A. There's a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of cool tidbits and information. Sabrina is a very hardworking person. I had the pleasure of kind of being on the line with her, with Cameron back when Twin Peaks was new. I mean, the return was new, which it was a long time now. It feels like yesterday, but it was 7 years ago. I don't know if I can't believe it, you guys. I can't believe that was 7 years ago. I felt like so much happened in the time after that. So let's get into some of the stuff she shared. There's a lot of it, so you could feel free to come back in and tune out whenever you want, and come back later and watch the whole thing. I kind of want to go through a lot of it because I think it's information people would want to know. So I'm going to switch my screen over. Let's see. I want to make sure you guys could see what I'm seeing here. But yeah, I mean, hold on. This is not doing what I want it to do. Okay. We're getting closer. Because I want to share the screen with y'all. There we go. All right. So this is kind of the top of the list here of the Q&A questions. We'll go through some of them. Might skip around a little bit just because I don't know how many you guys might think are interesting. But I think it's all interesting. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. There's some early questions, and I'll share the link if you guys want to look at everything yourself. So there's stuff about Lynch and working with Mark Frost, and kind of just questions about the process that they go through when they write together. So a lot of this stuff is stuff maybe the hardcore fans or the fans that are a lot more attentive to what Lynch does in his process might not be new information, but still cool to hear how he and Mark Frost work together. There's a lot of questions about company stuff. What's up with the change in the company directorship for Twin Peaks Productions, where David Lynch became sole director, asking about all the different kinds of companies. And Sabrina basically says he's a director, so he wants to direct, which, you know. This I thought was interesting. Are the props and sets for the return still in the same storage warehouse? If so, can you tell us a specific reason why they're still being stored? Many productions auction off props after the show ends. Most of the props and sets will be a part of something outside of another TV show or movie. They are not for sale, and some have already been destroyed. So some of those props have been destroyed. So, you know, take that as you will. I'm gonna change things up a little bit here so you could see my face. Here we go. I thought this question was funny. Are the David Lynch fans obsessing over hints of wisteria? Invade various Lynch's associates' Instagram and Twitter posts looking too deep into things? Are we being gaslit? Or what is going on? And Sabrina says gaslit. Maybe people who say they know what's going on might be doing that too. Don't believe anything unless you hear it from me or David or a credible company. I agree with that. There's a lot of rumors that fly around. Talks about her experience working with David. Obviously, you'd think it's really good. They've been working together a very long time, but it's good to hear that it's been a good working relationship. Ask about locations for shooting The Return. Shot in Paris, France, obviously for the, Who is the Dreamer scene with Monica Bellucci. And then shooting in Vegas, which I guess they didn't do, but, it's convincing enough. Some stuff about the deleted scenes. Some stuff about Snoot World, too, which Sabrina says, I hope to see the light of day. I am working on it, so hopefully that's a good indication that we will actually get to see it at some point in the near future, near-ish future. It's also written by Caroline Thompson. So I believe in Sabrina. She'll get it done. So a lot of people are asking about specific things that happen in The Return, and Sabrina says, can't say anything about the intention. Not that this means anything. So she's answering questions a lot in the way Lynch would, which is basically, art is art and interpret it however you want. I like this question because I thought this was interesting, and I thought it was sort of an open-ended thing in The Return. Was there more to Riley Lynch's anybody seen Billy scene during shooting? It's a great scene, but the ending is very jarring. A good way of, and some have noted, the double R patrons move around between cuts. Riley pops up again at the end of the scene, rising from a table with a female companion paying his bill at the counter. Even though we previously saw him running out of the diner, furthermore, it looks like to me that Riley's mouth isn't actually moving when he asks about Billy. Given how weird the scene is in all these respects, I wonder if the concept of that scene changed at the editorial stage. She just said yes. So I think the choppiness is, you could take that as kind of a choice or something that just had to happen for coverage reasons, and that's why it seems so odd and surreal and kind of disjointed. It works either way. It works in a Twin Peaks show because of what Twin Peaks is, of course. So take that as you will. So we're going to go down a little bit more. Obviously, Lynch is working on music. So there's some new David Lynch music in the works. I like this question because I always like hearing about the Criterion releases and how involved Lynch is with those releases. I think it's very interesting. Can you explain a little bit more about the recent restorations David has done and his back catalog? How involved was he in the process? He is very involved. He feels that the director should be the one making sure everything is correct rather than just allowing the distribution company to make those technical and artistic decisions. He loved using Dolby Vision for his film projects, as well as other new technical advances to improve the digital look to make the film look like it should, which they use Topaz Labs AI to up-res and remaster Inland Empire, but I think it looks great. I also use Topaz Labs. I definitely don't get the same results with it, but I'm sure they were in there tediously correcting things. Some of the old standard def DVDs are not good now in comparison. There's also a lot of nostalgia, of course. We have stopped many scenes while remastering to hear a story from David about what took place during the time of shooting. You can't beat the experience. I'm very lucky to get to hear them. I am jealous of that. I would love to hear those stories. So this one is also interesting. I think a lot of them are interesting, but I just want to go through them, and we could talk about them and leave comments if anything strikes you as more interesting. Dwayne Dunham has said that the Fireman Cooper scene was not originally the first scene of the show and was moved in editing. Could you please provide an incredibly cryptic answer to one of the following questions? What was the first scripted scene of their turn, or where was the Fireman Cooper scene originally placed? So the script was written modularly, meaning that although the script was written like a script, scenes could be moved around in editing depending on David's preference. I was always told this from the beginning of pre-production. Wayne did the first editor's cut, and he left. David continued to edit the full 6 months beyond that to create his director's cut and the final product. The script was not the determining factor of where a scene would go. Everything was in David's head alone. That's nuts, and I love it, and it makes complete sense. I think there should be more than that. Yeah, there's 6 pages of this, so hang in tight, guys. I don't know how much of this we'll do, but I think it's a lot of cool information here. Talking about more of the Inland Empire, re-released the recent remaster for the Criterion. I like this question. If when David is working on a big project like film or television, does he drop his painting and other fine artistry immediately, or does he continue to paint as far in the process as he can? It depends. Filmmaking is pretty all-consuming, so definitely during shooting is to give it up. He may work on his painting in pre- and post-production when time allows. On Twin Peaks: The Return, he was committed to finish a series of lithographs, so he was working on those during the shooting bit, even when we were up in Washington. That's cool that he still finds time to do that. Now, this is one of the questions that clarifies what Unrecorded Night was or will or was going to be, at least when those rumors were first starting to come out. A lot of those production kind of informed, like industry kind of publications were saying that something like this was going to happen. Minus all the rumors, minus the vague booking by Twin Peaks cast members, we actually have evidence that David has filed DGA copyrights on 13 scripts for something called Unrecorded Night, which 13 scripts, 13 episodes sounds like a Netflix show. Though notoriously unreliable, IMDb lists this as in production. Is Unrecorded Night something has been filmed, is being filmed, or was supposed to be filmed and then shelved by Netflix? Sabrina says, Unrecorded Night was a non-Twin Peaks series that was going to shoot at Netflix but was canceled when the pandemic hit. There's always a chance you could pick it up again, but David is enjoying his artwork and music endeavors, so we haven't gone back to it yet. So, Unrecorded Night seems like it was something that was fully written and almost ready to go into production, and the pandemic hit, and it had to be paused, which aligns with a lot of the stuff I talked about back then. When me and Cameron talked a lot about back then, it seemed like this was the case. So it's great to hear that we weren't totally nuts and were practical in our ideas of what this was. And it did exist, and it does exist. It just hasn't been made yet because of the pandemic. But it did look like David was starting some kind of partnership with Netflix at that time. The What Did Jack Do release on Netflix kind of alluded to more Lynch stuff on Netflix. But I think the pandemic changed a lot of that. Obviously, a lot of companies during the pandemic started to avert risk, and they wanted to make sure they had more sure bets, and the production calendars got smaller, the things that went into production because of all the pandemic, COVID regulations. So Unrecorded Night was a real thing. Is a real thing. Maybe we'll get it someday, but we'll see. I hope we do. Sabrina's working hard and doing a lot of stuff for David, so it's in the can. But who knows when we'll actually see it. This one's pretty funny. About how many Cheetos does David Lynch consume per day? Do you have to ensure that they're always nearby for him? Do you consider them a source of inspiration or distraction for David? David only eats Cheetos when we go to the lab for mastering and color timing. He will eat a small bag while we work. That along with peanut M&Ms. Good man. He really doesn't eat that stuff often. He has a good, healthy diet. Usually he's only joking. He only jokingly said this to Spielberg, but he was happy that he really had that on hand when we went to the shoot. He was a happy camper that day. That's so funny to me. Hey, Frame It to Focus. What's up? Spiegel talks about Michael Onkeen. Kind of why he wasn't in the return. Stuff we had heard before, just didn't line up. That's why they got Robert Forster. There was a weird photo behind Lucy's desk in the return. Looks like Lucy and Andy with a very strange puppet. What was up with that? What was up with that? Sabrina with the emoji says that was a family photo. That's pretty funny. Talking about working on episodes of Return. Did you ever have to find yourself mediate creative differences between Lynch and Mark Frost? And Sabrina says no. Some stuff about the cast. I mostly want to get to the information that we didn't really. Some information that I think is valuable about upcoming projects. Let's see. Will David ever direct another feature film or TV series? Sabrina says, I hope so. Is there a chance Wisteria Unrecorded Night would still get made? Sabrina just says yes. I like that. Is there anything they could share about the project? If the pandemic hadn't happened, would the project have been made? Does it have any relation to Twin Peaks? Yes, we were in pre-production and close to shooting. It has absolutely nothing to do with Twin Peaks. So that part of it, unrelated to Twin Peaks, but it was its own thing that seemed like it was written. Any progress or news on Snoot World projects? Since the article went public about it recently, I'm still trying to make it happen. That's the only progress. So that is still something they want to do. Asking about if David is going to do anything else with Netflix, so there's a possibility. I like this question because it's always good to hear that David is doing well. Obviously, he's older. You only have so much energy at that age. I'm only in my 30s, and I only have so much energy. But I like this question. It's basically asking about his health. How is he doing? Stuff like that. And somebody says David is in good health. He totally has the strength to direct and work, which is, you'll love to hear it. Hopefully that man stays healthy for as long as possible. For selfish reasons, because I love his work and I want to see more of it. But also, I want him to be able to hang around longer and make the stuff he wants to make that we all love. This is an interesting answer, but I will not go into it because it is a long answer and I don't want to reread everything. David still likes to do short films, but his artwork and music have taken up most of his time lately. So he's definitely heavy into the painting music stuff right now. One more. He's working on music right now, so I anticipate an album or two in the near future. As for art, he just had an installation in Italy of a thinking room that we know about. Have you and David ever considered crowdfunding a film project? This is interesting. Other indie film projects have raised millions of dollars through crowdfunding, and to the extent there was an ever shortfall of funds for a film project, David were anticipating, presumably his large and passionate fan base would be willing to financially chip in if it were ever needed. That's nice to say. We have considered it actually, but we haven't done it yet. Imagine a David Lynch film on Kickstarter. That would be quite something. Twin Peaks official fan celebration in Graceland was canceled in 2020. Will a similar event ever be planned? Sabrina says yes, and I hope soon. I was going to plan to go to that because I definitely want to go to anything official Twin Peaks that they do. So I hope they do another actual official Twin Peaks big event because I would love to meet David Lynch someday if I could. Somebody's asking about Dune. Skip around a little bit. David and Mark ever talk these days? They have each have their own projects they are working on, but I don't know if they talk at all. If they do, I am not there when they do. Do you have any idea where the news reports about David having something at Cannes in 2022 came from? Fake news, Sabrina says. Fake news. That was BS. Let's see. What is your average day of work like when David is not working on a film project? Do you see him every weekday typically? And Sabrina says, I'm currently working on his archive, so I'm working where he is and see him then. I never have an average day, though. I'm maybe doing several projects at once, so at least it's not boring. Sounds like a cool job. Asking her about movies. Has Lynch ever recently thought of working on a video game? That's a medium that is in touch. The perfect medium for him. He has thought about it both in the past and recently. That's cool. I would love to see a David Lynch inspired video game. I mean, Guillermo del Toro worked on what's it called? Elden Ring? Oh no, not Elden Ring. The one Death Stranding with Kojima. So I feel like a lot of directors do want to get into the video game space, and David Lynch does. I pre-order it today. So I think that's all the questions, right? Oh, here we go. Do you think of when season 3 of Twin Peaks ended, it was intended as a finale or an entry or a tease into a new story? I personally hope there will be more. As for the intention, I don't know. I know that David has more ideas for another season. I don't know about Mark. So that's interesting. David is still thinking about Twin Peaks. I'm going to see if there's any other answers here. Just saying thank you to everybody. Yeah, we're going back further. Okay, so that was the most of the meat from this Q&A on the Tulpa forum. So that's it, you guys. I think some of the cool stuff to kind of take away from this is that David is thinking about more Twin Peaks. Seems like he's actively thinking about it. He's not really talking to Mark Frost that much about it, at least to Sabrina's knowledge. But he is thinking about more Twin Peaks, which sign me up, of course. Any day, I'll take more Twin Peaks from David Lynch and Mark Frost. Unrecorded Night in Wisteria, that is a project that existed and that was real and that was gonna happen, but the pandemic kind of broke it down. But it seemed like it was going to be maybe a 13 episode thing. They had 13 things published, scripts published, it looked like. So that might still happen. We might get to a point in the next couple of years where we're getting a lot of David Lynch stuff. It seems like the pandemic kind of derailed a lot, as it did with everything. And you know, David Lynch wants to do things his way and get dreamy and have time and not have to deal with all this baggage of, you know, pandemic procedures, COVID procedures, all that stuff. So I think once things are open, it seems like he's in good health. Sabrina says he's in good health. He's eating well. He's maintaining his health and he's ready to work. He's like, he has the energy. So I think sooner than later, we're getting some stuff from the world of David Lynch. Definitely music. Sounds like we're definitely getting more music. We're definitely getting more art, paintings. He seems deep into that world right now. And then if they could find somebody who wants to partner with them to do Wisteria and Unrecorded Night, maybe Netflix steps in again and wants to do it with them. And we're in the age of the combining of all the streaming platforms. Personally, if I'm gonna say, I think the platform to go for a David Lynch project right now, I think he goes to Apple. I think he goes to Apple for the funding to do a David Lynch project. I feel like they're in the realm of funding something like this, having these kind of prestige kind of art properties under their belt, under their streaming service. They're the only ones not really talking about merging with anybody else. A lot of the other streaming services are not doing so hot. I don't know how well Apple's doing either, but they're doing a good job of cultivating a collection, making original series and movies. I think a David Lynch series on Apple TV would be the way to go right now. I don't really know any other streaming platform that I think fits him better. I mean, you could also go with any of the smaller ones. You could work something out with Criterion, but I don't know if they have the cash to fund a huge David Lynch project. That's why I would say Apple. I don't know who Sabrina and the team have been talking to in terms of getting stuff made. But that's just my thought. Maybe go to Apple for Wisteria and Unrecorded Night. I think that might be the way to go. Paramount is on kind of the downturn. Netflix, if they still have a good relationship with Netflix, obviously that would be a good one. But I feel like, Apple would be the one for Wisteria and Recorded Night thing. And maybe Max. I think they have a lot of like the A24 stuff. So there's a lot of people going to that platform to watch that stuff. But also Warner Brothers is in dire straits. There was like even rumors of Disney buying out Warner Brothers. So I think there is space out there for David Lynch, and I think Apple's a good space for it. But something that came up in this Q&A is that they've thought of the idea of crowdfunding David Lynch's project. So I think that would be super interesting. Obviously, I would put in, I think he would make the money, from crowdfunding his movie. You'd have people of all kind of, levels of wealth wanting to support David Lynch. I think he would get probably way more money than he even would need for a project, which is not bad. He could do more stuff with it. And yeah, that would be great. That would be great. So we're getting more music for sure. Sabrina mentioned 2 albums, possibly. So it's good. It seems like things are going well in Lynch world. And I love to hear it. And I can't wait to see more from David Lynch and to hear more, because it sounds like music is coming first. But I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this after the stream, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new. I used to do a lot more Twin Peaks videos, but it's been kind of quiet for a while. And with all this, with this big Sabrina stream of Q&A questions, I thought I would come back into the fray to talk about this stuff, because it's very exciting, and I'm very excited the potential for more David Lynch. So yeah, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys hopefully soon. See ya.